Hi, Best Buds. It's Cathy with Cathy's Garden, and I'm so happy that you've joined me today. Today is a how-to envelope basics and a tutorial. I'm going to show you how you can make envelopes from one sheet of paper. You do not need to have any special machine. Let's look at the ones that I've been making today. This one's made out of book page. I'm also going to show you how you can get beautiful pieces of your napkin placed on your envelopes for that really beautiful look. There's this one. I have music paper here. Made one from music paper. Oh my, look at those fuchsia. It looks like it's part of the paper, doesn't it? Then I've got this one that I did some stamping on, and I applied my napkins onto my envelope. So gorgeous. Let's look at this one. I used my napkin in a different way for this one. I applied my napkin on the front and the flap of my envelope, and I decorated it with a fussy cut and a little bit of lace. How gorgeous is that? I also sewed around the outside of my envelope before I glued it together. As you can see right here and here, I went all the way around my flap. I also made a piece, or decorated a piece of ephemera with the same same napkin, from the scraps that I had after making my envelope. That's part of the Eiffel Tower right there. All right, so there's that one. Let's get this back inside. Then let's look at this one. Oh my goodness, this one is truly gorgeous. I used some food-dyed paper that I had made probably this spring. I did a little stamping and then my beautiful napkin on there. And then look, I did some more here. Just gorgeous. Let's look at this one right here. Inside I have another piece that matches my envelope. So let's pull it out. It's a piece of coffee dyed paper that I placed a piece of napkin on top of my page, and I did a little bit of stamping and some inking, and it came out truly beautiful. Absolutely perfect to pop into our envelope, and then you can either put it into your junk journal, send it out in Happy Mail. There's so many things that you can do with this. So let's start from the beginning. What we want to do is we want to start with our papers. Oh, I forgot I had these little fellas sitting here. When we cut our paper to make our envelopes, most of the paper that you have, unless you're using scraps, you're going to end up with a little sheet left over, a little sliver left over. Now, these papers, like these papers here that I used, were 11 inches by 8.5. And the 8.5 is what we used to make our square. So we made a square 8.5 by 8.5, leaving us with a 2.5-inch strip. And with that strip, we made these faux envelopes. This does not open up, but it's such a nice piece of ephemera to have to pop on to your pieces when you make your projects. So I'm gonna show you how you can do all of this. Alrighty, clearing this out of the way. Let's bring in what I was gonna bring in just a second ago, our papers. All right, so we have our papers, copy weight paper. It's been coffee dyed. It's 11 inches by 8.5. This is the food dye paper, same size. And what you want to do is the end right here, the 8.5-inch size. I think you can see this one better. The 8.5-inch size, that's what you're going to cut this part down to. I'll turn it this way so you can see. This is the 8.5. So you're going to cut this to be 8.5 too. So I've done that with this pink one. As you can see, I cut it down to 8.5 by 8.5, and you end up with this little strip that's left over. This is the strip I was talking about, in which you can make these faux envelopes out of. So really, you're not wasting your paper at all. All right, let's get back to how do you make the envelope, Cathy? You want to have a square. So whether you have a full sheet of paper and you cut it down, or you have a scrap. If you have a scrap, you want your scrap to be square. Now, to make a actual working envelope, you don't want your scrap to be too awful small, or it just makes it really difficult to make a envelope. I inked that up so you can see just a little better. We're going to turn our square so it's like this, and I'm sorry it's out of frame. And I'm looking for my ruler, and I thought my ruler was right here. Oh, here it is. Here's my ruler. Got my ruler. So I'm going to pull this down so you can see what I'm talking about. I'm putting my point of my paper on one of my grid marks, and then I'm going to push it up, and I'm going to put the bottom one on the same grid mark, the exact same. So I know that my paper is going to be square. Then I take my ruler and I place my ruler to the tip and the other tip. Okay, we got that going on here. Then we take our pencil and we make a little mark right in the center. Just like that. You can probably see that. Yeah, you can see that mark. Then I'm going to turn it to my other corners. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm placing these points on my grid mark, and then I'm placing my ruler down, and I'm going to line it up just like this. I get it lined up here. People who have followed me for a while know that I don't like wonky envelopes. Okay, so I've got my X right there. Then I'm going to take one of my corners. It really does not matter which one. And you'll want to fold the tip of that to the intersection of the lines in which you just made. Give it a crease. Now we're going to go around to the other side. We're going to take this tip and we're going to point it or put it so the points come together, just like that. And we're going to crease it. Now I need to erase my cross mark here, my markings. I'm going to erase them. Okay, that's all done. We've got that. Now I'm going to fold, it doesn't matter which one, but I'm going to fold one of the points up. This is where this point here, I'm going to highlight this a little better so that you can see it without, having trouble seeing what I'm doing here. It helps if I give it some color. All right. Now, we're going to be pulling one of these corners up. So we're going to place this point on a grid mark and this point on a grid mark, like this. And then we're going to be pulling this one up. And I'm going to pull it up about a ½ inch. About, But it does have to be even on both sides. So whether it's a half, a fourth, whatever, it has to be even on this side and on this side, or you'll get a wonky envelope. No wonky envelopes. Okay, fold it. We're almost there, you guys. Now right here, this tip right here, and you probably can't see that very well, so let's highlight that. Alrighty, so this tip right here, we're going to pull it down just a little bit, not a lot, just a little, and then we're going to fold it back on itself. so it's just like this. Okay, just like that. Now we're going to address the flap of our envelope. Once again, we're going to turn it this way. I'm going to line up my bottom of my envelope on a grid, and I'm going to take this flap, this corner, and I'm going to fold it down about a 1/2 inch again. But I need to try to stay lined up. Give it a crease. And looky there, you guys. We have an envelope. Super cool, right? So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my large stamp. It's a paragraph stamp. I'm pretty sure it's still available. Stampabilities, 2019. At the time, it was $10.99. Paper crafts. I think I purchased it from Hobby Lobby. Yes, it says Hobby Lobby right there. So I'm going to open this up. Now, let's talk about this first. This is the bottom because of this right here. And I'm actually going to glue this shut. That little flap, I'm going to glue it. So it's not going to open, and you're going to know for sure that's the bottom of the envelope and that's the top. Right here, we're going to take this out. We're going to take this little pie shape. I'm going to highlight it so you can see what I'm talking about. We're going to take and remove this portion right here. We're going to remove that. That's at the flap. This one doesn't have the point anymore, so that's the bottom. So this is the flap. And I like to remove it, so I'm removing the fold as well. Got that part gone. Let's remove this one. And here. Okay. Got that. Now, I was going to ink it up, but that's okay. So now, I have not been removing this. And the reason why is that it kind of gives it a little more structure down there. Now, if you're working with cardstock, you definitely have to remove it because it would be way too bulky. But with this copyweight paper, I kind of like leaving that. Now, if it bothers you, you could remove that just like you did up here. It's okay. Remove it, don't remove it. It really is all right. Now what I want to address is that I want my stamp to be right side up here. But if I stamp it right side up here and I close it, it's going to be upside down here. So I'm not going to stamp my flap when I stamp the body of my envelope. You understand what I mean? Because I want my stamp to be right side up when I close my envelope. I'm going to add my ink, and this is my Stays On Jet Black, and I'm going to be kind of haphazard about applying. And plus, as you can see, this isn't like real perfect. Like over here, it's not real strong of a stamp. That's part of the beauty of this stamp, is that it doesn't come out really strong. That's just the way the stamp is. Sorry about that noise, guys. I'm going to do it again. There. I'll do the edge. I should set that on something so I don't have that noise. I'm sure that bothers somebody. And let's do, sorry, still doing it, the bottom, just a little bit here. Okay, so you can see it's not perfect, but I really like it. It really looks good. Now I want the flap to be right side up, so I'm going to turn it like this, and I'm going to stamp it now. So it will be, the stamp keeps sticking to my, the ink pad keeps sticking to my stamp, and that's why it keeps doing that. Okay, there. And maybe here. There we go. All right, that looks great. Now, do I want the inside to have some, now you could leave it like that, but I actually would like to have the inside of my envelope to have a little bit of stamping as well. So I'm gonna stamp this. Stick it to it. There. There we go. And then, do I want, I think I just want a little tiny bit. I don't think I want a lot. I'm just going to do it here and there. There, like that. So it's just a little bit of stamping. All right, enough of that stamping. Now, what I want to do is, I'm not going to do it, but I'm going to tell you that this is the time that you can take it to your machine if you want, and you can sew around however you want to sew it. You can sew it because it's nice and open. I think what I'd like to do now is I'm going to glue my envelope closed, but first I'm going to take my frayed burlap and I'm going to ink all the way around my envelope, and I'm going to ink the folds of my envelope as well, inside and out, because when you open up your envelope, you're going to see that fold, and I just think it's so pretty if it has a little ink on it. So I don't think this will take very long. We don't need to do the inside, but I do need to do this outside here. And I need to finish off here. Here. Okay. And then right there at the bottom. There we go. Maybe a little bit over here. That looks really nice. Now what's the front look like? A little bit more inking on the front. Okay. There we go. And you can like do a little extra if you want. If you really want it to have maybe more of an old appearance, you can just take your sponge and just add a little bit more of the color onto your envelope. Okay, I really like how that's looking. All right, on to our napkins. Now, I have already removed the 2 plies that come with napkins. You know, there's 2 plies, or 3 plies, I should say. I've already removed the 2 plies. And I've actually, oh, here's the book page one. Oh, that's another thing. Oops, I'm getting ahead of myself. Where's that strip that I had that was the, oh good heavens, where's the strip? The pink strip that I had with this. Oh, here it is. Okay, here it is. Oh my goodness gracious, okay. Remember it was a full sheet? Remember back when it was a full sheet and then we had this extra strip to it? You remember that? All right, now you can either make your envelopes this wide, which is 2.5 inches, or you could cut a little bit off of it and make different sizes. But let's go ahead and make this. We're going to make the faux envelopes, those little tiny ones that I was talking about. You can make with your extra. Take the 2 corners here, and we're just going to fold it down like this. Okay, and then I'm using my art glitter glue. You use the glue of your choice. And we're going to glue these down just like this. Then we're going to turn this down right here. About, well, you can do it just without having a space, but I started putting a space, and I kind of like the space. And what do I mean by a space? The space right here. That's about 1.5 inches. This space from this fold to this point is about 1.5 inches. You kind of see that. I'm going to ink this up. And then what we want to do is we're going to take our glue and we're going to glue this flap down. These are so simple, you guys, but they're so great to use when you're crafting. It's like making your own piece of ephemera. Okay, now we need to cut our envelope and, I don't know, bring it down to about, I think it'd be good about right there. So I'm actually going to bring my little chopper in because it gets a nice straight cut for me. Just putting it on a little grid mark there. Give it a chop. And look, it's a little faux envelope from your scrap. Oh my goodness, they are so cute, aren't they? Let's go ahead and make another one, but this time I'm going to cut it in two. So let's see. Well, this is always the better way for me to do things. There's the half. So let's mark it right here and right here. And I'm going to put it in my cutter. I'm going to cut this. So now I've got 2 strips, which are not as wide. I'm going to do the exact same thing. If you get them too little, they become too fiddly and they're really hard to work with. This is about as small as I would like to go personally, because it becomes a little too much for me, too tight of a workings. And then we're going to ink it up. Now we're going to take this and we're going to fold it down like that. I inked up the wrong side. Duh, Cathy. Okay. It's okay. You can ink the whole thing. It doesn't matter. All right. So we did that. Now, let's see. How about right there? You just kind of eyeball it and see, oh, it looks like an envelope about right there. Oh, it looks like an envelope about, you know, this far down or that far down. You get the idea. I'm not measuring that. You get the idea of when it starts looking like an envelope. And then ink that. And then you can make different sizes. Now I got to glue that flap down. There. Look at there. Now we have 2 different size faux envelopes. And I still can make this and another one here. I know I can get another one. So we can probably get 2, 3, 4, 5, probably 5 envelopes because we cut that one in half. All right, so that's how you make the tiny ones. Now back to our well, no, not yet. Okay, so that was 11 inches by 8.5 inches. Now this is a book page, and I just took the margins out of my book page, and then when I ended up with a width, you take the smallest width that you have. This, the shortest width, maybe that's the word I should use. This is 5.5 inches across. So that meant I need to go 5.5 inches across there to make a square. And then you do the exact same thing and you line them up like this. And you place your ruler onto your points. Just lining it up, because if you don't line it up straight, then you end up with that wonky envelope and you don't want one. And you make a mark. And you do the exact same here. Now you don't have to have a grid to do it. You could just line it up using the points of the square piece of paper that you're making your envelope out of. You've got your X. Then you decide, this is when sometimes if it's not just a totally plain piece of paper, I look at it and I think, well, what do I want for my flap? And I would like this to be my flap. So that means I'm going to turn this one in, because this is my flap. I'm going to turn this one in, point to point. And then we're going to bring this, that's going to be our bottom. I already designated that one for my flap. And we need to put corner to corner on my grid mark. And, well, don't move it, Kathy. Keep it straight. And then we're going to fold this up. And the smaller envelopes that you make, because obviously this is going to make a smaller envelope, you might want to consider taking it shorter amount up. I didn't. I still did a 1/2 inch, and I think it still looks great. We're going to pull this down like this. And we're going to turn it the other way after we folded it. I don't want to forget to remove my hashtag. I don't need to make it so big, but when I'm doing a video, I'd like everyone to be able to see it. When I'm doing it all by myself, I just do a little mark. All right, and then we're going to do the same thing with our flap. And you know that this is your bottom, so sometimes it's good just to go ahead and glue it. And then that way you always know what your bottom is, so that when you go to decorate it, then you can make sure you keep things right side up. If there's a right side and a, you know, upside down and right side, you can keep things a little straighter. Especially if you're like me. you get confused easily. Okay, so we're pulling that down like that. Look at there, we've got our envelope out of a book page. Super cute. And then I actually had some scraps. And you do the exact same thing to your strips that we did with the colored pink one. And you can make little tiny, well, I got some here, little tiny faux book page envelopes as well. You can make them out of music paper. I mean, you can just go to town. It's so much fun, you guys. Once you get going on this, it is so much fun. All right, so eventually we finally got back to the napkin. Now, I am going to show you a couple things that I like to do to get your pieces, because you're going to get little pieces of your napkin like this. You're going to remove it from the larger napkin, and you're going to get yourself little sections of your napkin, because that's what you can use to really decorate your envelopes in this really cool way, like this way. Okay, so now this one you obviously wouldn't do this method. You would just glue this onto your front and your flap. So I was just showing you some different ways that you can use your napkin. All right, let's put this back together here in this pile. And let's bring in a napkin. Now, I'm actually going to bring in this napkin. I've already been using it. As you could tell, I already used this napkin. It came like this. I'm going to show you how you can get it, because this tearing of the image that you want out really helps in getting it to blend in to the paper so it looks like it's printed on there, and it gives it such a lovely look. And then of course you can do your pages inside if you want to do a special piece of paper that matches your envelope. In here I've got water, and I have got a very soft sponge. It's not a sponge, Cathy. It's a paintbrush. Oh my stars. And then I've got one that's smaller. And then I've got one that's dry, and it's kind of firm. I wouldn't want to paint with that. It's super, super firm. It was one of those cheapos that you get. All right. It just comes in helpful and handy. So you've removed your other two coatings, plies, and what we want to do is we want to take the little tiny paintbrush, and we're going to remove and paint around one of these images. So let's take this one because it's nice and dark. And you're going to paint and it will spread. This water will moisten the napkin and spread. And it's okay if you lose a little bit of the image that you're after. It'll just give it character. It will really be quite all right. And let's see, let's go around like that, maybe like this. Okay. Now, what I was doing is picking it up and just pushing it. But this really helps to help pull it away. So you're pulling the dry napkin away from that wet area. And then you can remove it. Whoops, I didn't get it all done. Here. Oh. Okay, there we go. And you can further remove more if you want more to come off. And I do. I want it to get a little more of this removed. And this dry paintbrush, especially because it's firm, it really helps me get that removed. Now you can use your fingers, and I was doing that earlier, but I found that this was just so much easier. And then what you'll want to do is just set that aside. And then in just no time at all, it's going to be dry. And it'll be just like that. And it'll be, you can't see that, and it'll be totally dry. That's super cool, right guys? Okay, so then you have your envelope. So let's just pop this over here. This will be dry in just a few minutes. The envelope that we just made together. And what you want to do is you want to apply your glue here and stop right there. You don't want to put your glue right there. And then you want to put your glue on this side and stop right there. So I'm actually going to use my art glitter glue. I wouldn't suggest a glue stick, but if you're really good at a glue stick, then I'm sure you can do it. I'm not. So I'm using my art glitter glue. Just like that. And then we're going to take this and we're going to fold it up. Now we've closed up our envelope. So our envelope's totally closed. Now let's take our piece. I'm actually going to take the second one. That's our first one we just made together. And let's put this on here. Isn't that going to be gorgeous on there? Now this is where I kind of lay it to where I want to go. I'm thinking, okay, do I want it to look like that? Am I going to want to add maybe something else up here? Or do I just want that one? I have quite a few of these fuchsias. There, here's one like that. Or do you just want one? You could even put one inside if you wanted to. I think I just want to put that right there. I'm going to use my Yoo-Hoo glue stick. And I'm kind of eyeballing and seeing about where that's setting. And I'm going to remove it. And I'm going to apply my glue right on there, like that. And then I'm going to lay my napkin on there. And then I'm just going to press it with my finger. Now, if my finger gets gluey, I switch to a different finger because you don't want to really put glue on top of your napkin while you're trying to smooth it out. It won't smooth very well. So just switch to one of your other fingers, right? Okay, so now we're like this. But the edges aren't really glued down well enough yet. Now I have some watered down school glue. Water and school glue. If this was empty, this much would be glue, this much would be water. I tried it in the very beginning today with my art glitter glue, doing the same thing I'm going to do with this. But it was sticky when it was dry. I don't like sticky. That's why I don't like Mod Podge. So I'm going to use my watered down school glue. And I'm going to apply my glue directly, well, it's probably got a film on it, yeah, right on top and around my napkin, just like that. Then I'm going to take this softer brush that I showed you earlier. It's been in water, so I'm dabbing it on a piece of paper towel to dry it off a little. And I'm going to start and brush outward. I'm not going to brush inward because you're trying to get, or you are going to get, the edges of this napkin to lay flat. And I'm going to put some of this glue in the middle of this napkin as well, this image, because I really want it to, it will strengthen the napkin is what it will do. The glue will. And if you don't have that glue on top, it might rip or tear easily. So I'm just going to apply that just like that. Look at that. Super cool. Now, I am going to get this dry, and then we're going to continue and we're going to finish decorating it. All right, so our little napkin is completely dry, and you can't see that it is a napkin or that it's not part of the paper. It's awesome. All right, so now let's decorate the front. Let's see here. We could put the same thing on the front. We could put something like that. I like that. That's, and then a label right here would be super pretty. We can put a different color on the front. Oh goodness, that's gorgeous. Let's pop that one on the front. Now we took our Yoo-hoo glue stick and we kind of visualize how big of an area it is. And we're going to apply our glue stick right on there like that. And then we're going to lay our little napkin down, something like that. Then we're going to spread it out. I just use my finger and spread it out, starting from the center and working outwards. And if you get your finger, if it gets sticky, then just use a different finger. Don't use a sticky finger. Now I'm going to use my watered down school glue, and I'm going to add it around the edge like that. I'm going to get my softer brush. I'm going to dab it so that it's not sopping wet. I'm going to just start in the center and bring it outwards, center, outwards, center, outwards. Like this. I got an awful lot of glue. I'm going to wipe a little bit of that glue off and bring it all the way out past the torn part of your napkin, because you need to get that adhered to the paper. And of course you don't want to go over 50 million times because eventually you will rip your napkin. I'm just wanting to get that all smoothed out. And there you have it. You guys, this is the coolest way to decorate an envelope. And it's also super cool that you can make faux envelopes as well. You guys, if you have enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. I invite you to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in my next video. I'll see you there, guys. Bye now.